So many people in Texas have served in the military or know someone who has. It's really part of the fabric of our nation. And that's why we want to reflect on the stories of resilience, sacrifice, and service that have touched our community. Over the years, we've had the privilege of sharing a lot of powerful stories from our local heroes and their families to remind us of the true meaning of commitment and courage. Throughout this special, we'll look back and revisit some of those unforgettable moments. We hope they continue to inspire you and remind us all how much we owe our veterans.
Come on, sweet girl. Come on, honey. Come on.
Honey.
Ready?
Honey. Hey, yeah. Hey. How you doing?
A reunion can feel like coming to life again.
Good girl. Good girl.
Especially a reunion that's been a long time coming.
It's been since early December.
Because nothing in life's been coming easy.
Homeless don't have a chance. They really truly don't.
Byron Kennard, who was a Marine and in the Army Reserves, got evicted. No place to live meant
I just miss my baby.
no way to keep Honey. But then an animal rescue group found Honey a temporary foster home.
There you go.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you, like, he's a tug-of-war artist.
Behind a fence.
Oh yeah, look at that 10, sir.
And inside a dorm filled with teenage boys who know what it's like to live a tough life.
A lot of our youth come from very hard places. Some of our kids are victims of neglect and abuse.
Gainesville State School is one of the highest security juvenile detention facilities in Texas.
You're doing good, you know. You had a little hiccup, but you're better now. So just stay in there, man.
Every teen serving time here committed a felony.
Come on, Rebel.
But now they can also be
Good boy. He's my partner in crime, my best friend, a Rebel.
fosters.
When I first got him, he was kind of a little shooken up because of where he came from, and I felt that same way.
We agreed not to show their faces or share their names. This is a 17-year-old from Fort Worth who has a little girl at home.
I had my daughter when I was 14, turning 15, so I was pretty young.
Very young.
I took my dad's skills into being an owner skill, because he's kind of like my son too, so I can't have it.
He shares Rebel with an 18-year-old from Odessa who is approaching the end of a 3-year sentence when we met.
Rebel taught me a lot, especially responsibility.
16 of the 160 boys at Gainesville State School live in what they call the Bark Dorm. They earned their way in.
So you knew behavior had to be good.
Oh, yes.
Grades had to be good in order to qualify to be here.
Yes,
and it was
ma'am.
motivation.
Yes, ma'am.
These dogs all have owners who faced hardship at home
Sit, go get it.
and needed someone to care for their animals short term. The youth feed them, take them out, clean up after them, play with them. The dogs even sleep in their dorm rooms.
Like they say, like a dog is a man's best, like you feel me, best friend, and I agree to that.
These are kids who've been let down,
Oh.
and dogs
Good boy.
lift them up.
It taught me really just love, because I didn't really experience love that much.
That dorm right there, the fierce amount of incidents on the campus, very, very few, if any, rule violation reports. They have grown. The camaraderie in that dorm it's very strong. They get along in there, and they do that for the benefit of these dogs.
On our visit, we saw Rebel, Maverick, Maggie, Amigo, and Honey.
Who's your favorite?
Honey.
I love the haircut too. I really do.
One of the young men told me she's his favorite.
I heard that several times so far. But yeah, hey. Makes me more in love with it, I guess you could say. Yeah.
To see Byron and Honey just connect again is such a beautiful moment, and it's exactly what we want to have happen. That's what we're doing here with the Bark Dorm, is to make sure those reunions can happen.
Byron worked his way out of hard times and found a safe place to live. He hopes the boys in Gainesville someday do the same, because life is better
I am grateful to Dallas Pets Alive.
now that he and Honey are home.
They give people hope. They give people hope.
In Gainesville,
Good dog.
I'm Teresa Woodard.
for the REDCOM COs and SELs.
In a crowded room full of heroes at NAS JRB Fort Worth, 2 people from Tyler, Texas were there to honor one more.
I had to, it was gnawing at me. I had to do it.
Gnawing at Mike Schaefer was what happened to his great uncle more than 80 years ago.
Here is the actual bombing.
The day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese attacked Wake Island. Albert Knox was among more than 1,100 civilians helping build an airstrip there. He became a POW, was sent to Japan as slave labor, and died of exposure and malnutrition in solitary confinement.
You can have tears rolling out of your eyes reading what happened to him.
But because he wasn't technically an enlisted soldier, there were no commendations for his service.
Said that he didn't qualify. What do you mean he doesn't qualify?
Albert's sacrifice is a
But times have changed, and he and other heroes like him qualify now.
We gather to honor and remember a true hero.
Albert Henry Knox is now the recipient of a Prisoner of War Medal and a Purple Heart, and his great-nephew the recipient of some peace of mind.
And I thank all of you for what you do.
Back in Japan, where Albert Knox and 52 other American prison laborers died, the dam they built still stands. Albert's name still inscribed there. For a Texas family, these long overdue honors keep his name etched in history too.
Such an honor, great honor. Great, great honor.
In Fort Worth, I'm Kevin Reese.
There's a certain tranquility here, a refuge from life's darkest storms. Standing tall, having weathered their own storms throughout the years. For the lucky few, if only for a moment, it's a temporary escape from the noises that continue to echo from our past.
The Easy Food Store on Elmwood in New York became the scene of a drug raid.
In life, it's hard to have a testimony without first having been tested. Fort Worth police officer Lisa Ramsey.
I immediately knew I was paralyzed before I even hit the ground.
January 2nd, 2003, Lisa and her narcotics team were in the process of making a drug arrest when
I grabbed the door to pull it open and I heard this pop. I immediately felt pain right here.
Ironically, it was the store owner's son, not the suspect, who fired the weapon. He told police he mistook the officer for an intruder.
This is the remains of the .380 caliber bullet that was removed from Lisa's body. It entered her left lung, clipped her arterial artery, and blew out 2 inches of her spine. A grim reminder of the delicate balance of life and death.
My heart stopped 8 separate times. They came out and pronounced me deceased to the waiting room. And then 3 or 4 minutes later came out and said, no, we got her back again.
But Lisa's fight to live wouldn't die.
I'm a warrior. I just wanted to keep living.
Despite Lisa's paralysis, her spirit has never wavered, and nor has her support.
Cody, Sam!
Including that of an unexpected lifeline. Meet Army combat veteran Cody Phipps.
Good, how are you?
After crossing paths with Lisa, a life-changing friendship ensued.
I just don't know how to describe it. It's a beautiful friendship. It really is.
Both ironically brought together by one caring community. Heroes on the Water, a life-changing organization designed to rescue those who have spent a lifetime rescuing others.
Giving me the opportunity to get out, fish, and just relax and enjoy life.
If you'll support this.
It's a cost-free program for U.S. active duty military, veterans, law enforcement officers, first responders, and their families. But when life robs us of our very essence,
yeah, that ought to work.
It's gonna be a beautiful day on the water. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Finding contentment can be challenging,
Where's the champagne? Yeah.
but when found, invigorating.
I'd like to see us catch something.
I'm gonna try.
Trying? Quite the understatement.
Oh my gosh, this is a monster fish. Good Lord. Oh my God.
I thought it was gonna break my little rod. It was bending so bad.
I've never seen a bass that big.
I think I got a monster.
The outdoors and kayak fishing have been an outlet for me to heal from combat stress.
She is the champion.
Everybody likes to be around people that make you feel normal, make you feel like you're part of the group. And that's a big part of what we do here.
As well as providing a safe place to decompress.
I'm not going to go to a shrink. What do they know about getting shot? When was the last time they had a gun or a knife pulled on them?
Yeah, I've got us on this thing.
I want to talk to somebody who's actually been through something, you know? And Cody's that person for me.
Exactly why this hero, who's coping with his own post-war traumatic brain injury and stress disorder, drove nearly 900 miles simply to put his hero
We're having some good conversation
on the water.
It's been an awesome opportunity to have a mentor and to learn, somebody to learn from.
Interpreting Mother Nature is totally subjective. However, Heroes on the Water intent is clear. These outings are a time for reconnecting, for healing.
When you hear a fish come to the surface for air or something, it's just very peaceful and healing for me. There we go.
Beautiful out here. Being on the water. And out here with great people. It's a beautiful day.
Paddle, fish, heal. In Santo, Texas, I'm Arnold Payne.
As the events of Memorial Day weekend faded into night, there was one more march to take.
We're all in this together.
Marine veteran Jacob Schick gathered a crowd in an uptown parking lot, a crowd missing more than one important soul.
This year's the first time in 5 years I've done this without my brother, Michael Carnell. And so for me, of course it's heavy, but I feel his spirit, and that lifts my spirit.
Michael Carnell, a Marine veteran whose fight with cancer ended just 3 months ago. Tonight, some of his friends would walk for him.
Start together, finish together. One tribe, one fight. Rah? Yeah. Let's do it.
A walk a mile on the Katy Trail beginning at midnight, the very first minute of Memorial Day. A completely silent walk except for the sounds of a city, the sound of their own footsteps, and the clinking of dog tags from all the souls they've lost.
I think it just gives us a chance to hear them talk to us.
Terry and Beth Burgess hear their son Brian, killed in Afghanistan 13 years ago. His dad with the light to illuminate an American flag and his son's shoes. He carries those with his memory too.
The ability to be together is the healing, and to do it in a way where we all commit to that silence, there's just nothing more powerful.
And so for an hour they march as one, not a single word spoken, alone with their own thoughts, but with a platoon of fellow travelers, carrying the same.
People's healing journeys are different, and everybody does it differently, right? But we feel like they deserve an hour of solace silence.
Jacob Schick carries his own obvious pain, his own scars from battle. But the silent walk is about using that pain to manage the silent scars they carry too.
Because it's important that people understand, if you don't exercise your demons, they're going to exercise you.
An exercise to face painful memories and to move forward together.
And that's not a fight we want to fight alone.
In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese. In a room that filled first with music and then with old soldiers and their old stories.
And today we pray with our eyes wide open as we are on the battlefield.
They offered a prayer for the battlefields of Vietnam and the 50 years since those battles ended. But since some of those memories sometimes fade,
we Americans take care of each other.
Army Captain Alan B. Clark's return as a double amputee is now captured forever in a portrait, this one, his younger self looking at the motivated survivor he would become.
Probably not a day goes by that I don't think about it.
I thank God every day that I'm out of there.
The portrait of Ken Cordier, a tribute to the 6 years in a POW camp he survived.
6 years, 3 months, and 2 days.
And Paul Reed, his portrait includes the North Vietnamese enemy soldier he would meet 25 years later, the man he thought he'd killed.
Oh, that's so powerful. That's so potent. It's a lot of closure, and hopefully that message of forgiveness, reconciliation, and peace can come through.
At this commemoration of the end of the Vietnam War, artist Colin Kimball offered the portraits of North Texas Vietnam veterans as a tribute to their service.
All of us that served in Vietnam were vulnerable. I was just one of the unlucky few that got caught in a bad situation.
A bad situation. They ask we don't forget that more than 58,000 died, that more than 1,600 are still missing.
It is especially important for us to know that today we are appreciated because we are the legacy for these people that went to war.
A legacy captured in a set of portraits, and a legacy that they ask still deserves a thank you.
All it is just, you're a good person, I appreciate you. That's all there is to it. Simple.
A simple thank you for the memories and sacrifices they hope will never fade away. At the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
Although TAPS traditionally signals the end of the military day, when retired soldier Marcus Batty hears it,
it tugs at the heartstrings because you know someone came before you.
That someone for Batty and his family is his uncle, U.S. Army Sergeant Willie Batty. In 1949, their uncle joined L Company 3rd Battalion and deployed to Korea.
He was the baby. That was it. He was 20 years old. And so what I've tried to do over the last several years is trace the history of that unit.
In 1950, Sergeant Batty's mother got this letter from the U.S. Army about her son being missing in action after the unit was forced to withdraw from South Korea. She sent back this handwritten letter about not having anything with his DNA to help identify her son. Although they never met their Uncle Willie, Marcus and his sister, Paula Batty Roberts, learned his remains could somehow be among unidentified remains eventually recovered. Then 73 years later, a phone call.
When I got the call in February of this year that he had been identified, I was at the office and I was just jubilant. I couldn't believe it.
We always thought our uncle had been killed in action and was buried somewhere here in Texas. My grandmother had a nice flag, everything.
Just like his uncle and his own father, Marcus served in the military.
I did 2 tours in Iraq. I've been to Cuba, I've been to Kosovo, and I've been to Bosnia.
In addition to receiving Sergeant Willie Batty's remains, Marcus shared what it means to also have their uncle's Silver Star and Purple Heart medals.
Bravery, gallantry, and you made the ultimate sacrifice.
A sacrifice 73 years later, the Tree of Life Funeral Home will help them celebrate with military honors. In Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
I've read many books.
Rita Snyderman loves a good read.
But I've never had one that gripped me like this.
The story she just read of one very damn lucky World War II pilot named John Luckadoo, a hero in every sense of that word.
Because of what he did during the war.
And because of what he did on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but there's a man walking down here.
Oh, you must be lucky.
Don't get up, don't get up. Miss Snyderman?
I am so glad to meet you.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to meet you.
Happy to meet because they are both 101 years old.
It certainly overwhelms me that I was accidentally a part of history.
And for 2 people born in 1922,
our losses were just horrendous.
There are plenty of memories, good and bad, to recall.
Just frozen to the controls.
But this meeting arranged by Rada's daughter and son-in-law isn't just about a very Lucky Pilot.
I wasn't just lucky, I was damn lucky.
You were.
The B-17 Flying Fortress missions he survived, and the missions that the law of averages suggests.
I really didn't think I was coming home from that one.
That maybe he shouldn't have survived at all.
Because I didn't talk about it for 50 years. When I came back,
You were through with it.
I was at loose ends.
Lucky did agree to talk about it again because he doesn't consider himself the only hero in the room. For several years now, he's campaigned for a national holiday, a Homefront Heroes Day, to honor all those who weren't on the front lines but helped America win the war at home. People like a young housewife named Rada Snyderman, who signed up to be a nurse's aide and helped in stateside hospitals in Little Rock, Arkansas, for free.
We have never said thank you, because without you, we never would have prevailed.
Without people like.
Without all of you.
And more hero-type stuff came later. Her name is included in a monument in Arkansas, one of dozens in the 1950s, who helped Little Rock finally integrate public schools.
You know, I remember that type of thing, and that's what she was fighting to change.
So she's a hero to you.
She's a hero to me, but in that regard.
Heroes also have this in common. Can I ask you one last question? They think they are not. You know he's a hero, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think of him saying that you are a hero?
Well, I don't think I could compare his service to mine.
But if a young kid like me is it okay if I consider you both heroes? Is that okay?
That's okay.
That's okay with you?
Okay.
I don't consider myself a hero.
I'm uncomfortable with the term, too.
Uncomfortable, maybe. Worthy, yes.
We have to help those that can't help themselves.
Which sounds like hero stuff to me.
Paddling in the same canoe in the same direction.
In Plano, I'm Kevin Reese.
Inside VFW Post 2205, there's much of what you might expect.
There you go.
Pool, darts, and yes,
I'm an old person, in a way.
there are some older folks too.
Yeah.
But take it from Vietnam vet Jim Brown.
This is not a place for the old people. It's a place for the up-and-coming veterans.
He wants to get younger vets in the door, Afghanistan and Iraq guys, expose them to the recreation, and more importantly, the resources a VFW has to offer.
In my opinion, they feel like we're just a bunch of old veterans that just sit around.
It was used for
That's where this little room called the Entertainment Center comes in.
And we'll have 16 stations for gaming units.
Host Commander Tim Qualls says it's getting gutted. The Entertainment Center will soon be
Gaming center with PS5s, some Xboxes, that kind of stuff.
a new idea to get younger guys in the door, and more importantly, keep them alive.
And you could have knocked me over with a feather when I see, hey, one of the top 3 preventers of suicide of a young veteran is gaming.
Tim and Jim and the rest of the old school vets are still fundraising hard to make it happen.
If that works and it prevents one suicide, it's more than worth the effort.
It's the whole point.
And helping them out in all kinds of wonderful ways.
They either don't feel they deserve it, or they're just not aware.
With just a few PS5s,
I know the word PS5, but I couldn't tell you how to turn it on.
these guys plan to change that. In Denton, I'm Sydney Persing.
I was born in South Carolina.
To have a conversation with Vester Owens is to open a door to a very different World War II than most people remember.
Black soldier and white soldier didn't mix.
He was drafted, segregated to a supply company, shipped across the Atlantic.
Black was in the bottom of the ship.
And was there on D-Day, nearly joining the drowned and the dead.
It didn't for a boy that could swim, I wouldn't be here today.
And when he came home, no parade, no thank you offered for a black man from the South.
They didn't know I was there.
But today in a Fort Worth community center, he was the guest of honor. Children singing for him, giving him a basket full of thank you cards.
Thank you.
The Hanley Meadowbrook Community Center giving a 101-year-old veteran recognition long overdue.
There isn't a thank you big enough, Vester, for everything you did.
We value every opportunity to show him our appreciation.
And this is just another testament to showing how other people appreciate him.
These days, the difference in the skin don't change as much.
He told me he is happy to see that his 101 years have seen drastic racial change, that he was able to raise a family of successful educators and professionals. Are you proud of them?
Yes, sir. I'm proud of them. And they are doing well.
You know why? Because of you.
Yeah, well, God bless me. That's why I'm 101.
And on a hot day in August on a rec center basketball court, proud to hold court, tell a few old war stories, make fun of one of his war buddies one more time.
Now, I'm no good-looking fella, but he was ugly as a possum.
And celebrate that in a still imperfect world, that he has soldiered on through 101 years of change. In Fort Worth, I'm Kevin Reese.
Like many servicemen and women who returned from war, retired Army Staff Sergeant Gabriel Kanawiti didn't hit rock bottom. He fell further.
I believe I went all the way to the Earth's core. I attempted completing suicide twice.
It's a hole he thought he'd climbed out of.
It was my little brother.
Until two of his brothers, both veterans, ended their own life.
Darkness kind of seemed to almost kind of tap, hey, I'm still here. And I said, man, I need to do something about this, and I need to do something quick.
He already knew about a place called VROC, the Veterans Resource Outreach Center in Rowlett. Brian Wilburn is the director.
Thousands of veterans take their life each year. We wanted to do something.
Once a month, the VROC walks across Heroes Memorial Bridge to rescue veterans from the brink of suicide.
Was me at one point.
And Gabriel says that's exactly what it did.
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't missed a walk in 3 years.
I actually arranged my whole month's schedule around Walk the Bridge.
He says he's determined to help those, especially in the American Indian community he grew up in, who are still suffering.
How many people walk this bridge in hurt and in pain?
Just by being out here, the VROC says at least 9 veterans have been saved from suicide. And Gabriel says he'll keep walking so they don't have to run from the pain and suffering that haunts them.
Not only have I regained a purpose, it doesn't feel so lonesome anymore.
Because it's more than just a walk. It's a good first step. In Rowlett, I'm Sean Giggy.
It's always a good day when you get to talk to a hero.
Well, I'm not a hero.
Even if he doesn't think he is.
I like to fly, and that's all that counts.
I met Marine Colonel Joe McPhail at the Kavanaugh Flight Museum in Addison in front of a Wildcat, one of the planes he used to fly. World War II and Korea, a very long time ago. Now, are you really 101?
Yes, sir.
Really?
I'm nearly 102 in October the 10th.
Well, you got better DNA than I do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. Good DNA for a celebrity, which is exactly what he is. He will be the guest of honor at the Rose City Air Fest in Tyler on June 30th and the Thunder over Cedar Creek Lake Air Show on July 1st. The Colonel says he's too old to fly himself anymore.
It's honor beyond words.
But Randy Ball in a Russian MiG will be in the air.
But to get to meet these kind of guys and spend time with them that's what's really cool.
But the coolest part of this, they will tell you, is that these air shows with vintage and modern aircraft raise money for the veterans of today. The Cedar Creek Veterans Foundation funneling donations to DFW and East Texas veteran charities. This will also be the first vintage aircraft show here since the Wings Over Dallas midair collision this past November.
Everyone involved in that incident was a personal friend of mine.
Randy Ball says that's what makes this air show important too.
Every one of them would want the show to go on, 100%. It's the greatest generation from World War II that gave up everything for our freedom. And this is a living piece of history. How can you not go on with that kind of work?
And if that isn't enough of a draw for you to consider donating to this cause, there is always celebrity, Colonel Joe McFadden.
Well, yeah, I'm really not a celebrity, but appreciate the coming to see us fly, yeah.
And see them keep history and today's veteran services alive.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
A little after 5 in the morning now.
Cole Lyle did a Marine Corps tour in Afghanistan and came home to Texas with PTSD.
I spiraled down and almost became a veteran suicide statistic.
He says Kaya saved him from suicide.
And if you do get to that point, you know, you look down at the dog and you say, well, I can't leave the dog. The dog would miss me.
Kaya and her training cost Cole $10,000 of his own money. Together, they graduated from Texas A&M, moved to D.C., and became advisors on veterans policies. It turns out a four-legged lobbyist has power. Kaya convinced Republicans and Democrats to pass the PAWS Act, allowing the VA to give service dogs to veterans with mental illness for free. An influential dog was living a meaningful life until cancer cut life short.
I didn't want her to be in pain and suffer after all the pain and suffering that she stopped.
Cole wanted Kaya to spend her final day in Texas.
We thank both Kaya and Cole, a Marine Corps veteran, for their service.
Southwest saluted them on their flight and kept Kaya, too weak to walk, as comfortable as they could. Then Cole took her to the A&M campus and spoiled her with sunshine and a hotel suite. More than 25 million people have seen Kaya's story on social media.
And it was really hard waking up without her for the first time. She had a tremendous impact and a tremendous legacy.
Kaya was Cole's dog, but became America's best friend. Rest easy, girl, and thank you for your service. In Dallas, I'm Teresa Woodard.
The motorcade was brief, just some 15 miles from Rome to Decatur. But for the veterans who arrived at the Wise County Fairgrounds with it, the journey took them back more than 50 years. The trailer carries a scale replica of the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C., the largest replica, 360 feet long, 8 feet high, and bearing all of the more than 58,000 names of American Vietnam War dead. That's why Vietnam veteran Al Westfall brought the tribute here.
I have classmates, old friends, and even a cousin.
So this is near and dear to you.
It has been for a number of years.
This is panel number 2.
And as veteran volunteers helped piece this replica together, they stared at the names of those old friends.
The 7th Engineering Battalion, 1st Marine Division, we lost 128 men in Vietnam, and they're all on that wall.
And Harold Stokes says that's what you should understand if you visit this display Wednesday for National Vietnam War Veterans Day or any time during its 5-day stay.
It's to keep our fellow veterans in our mind and in our hearts.
And to keep sacrifices etched in stone so that every generation remembers too. At the Wise County Fairgrounds in Decatur, I'm Kevin Reese.
The pictures of the barracks and the bodies and the burning are black and white, but the people who survived the Holocaust remember its brutality in living color.
We were decimated.
Rosie Zerner was 6 when she was sent to a ghetto in Lithuania, escaped after her parents dug a small hole in the fence.
People were treated like cattle.
Andres Lacko was 8 when he narrowly avoided the ghettos some 1,200 miles south in Hungary. He got scarlet fever, spent the war quarantined in a military hospital.
Go ahead.
These 2 survivors they'd never met, not until I asked them to meet me at the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum to mark the liberation of Auschwitz 78 years ago.
It brings back so many memories. It brings back the memories of my 40 relatives who were killed.
These 2 had so much to say. I don't, unfortunately, have time to cover it all. So these survivors ask you remember this. They are still scared.
Anti-Semitism is definitely on the rise. Makes me feel anxious and sad.
But they have hope that faith and love can someday defeat evil for good.
Just perhaps we can go beyond the hate, beyond the agendas, beyond the cruelty that seems to be mainstream lately.
The only way that happens, though, they believe, is if we see how hatred polluted people through all of history, and we together decide not to repeat it.
Organizations like this here, this museum, presents an incredible opportunity to fight those kind of trends.
I do it not because it's enjoyable to focus on the suffering, but because the truth needs to be told. So the Jews are here to stay. Hitler lost.
These two are proof in living color of that much and so much more. In Dallas, I'm Sydney Persing.
Tailors have been stitching high-end suits from this corner in Addison for decades now. You like this business?
I love this business, yes.
And the business that Bob Bauman loves has another pattern that he loves piecing together too.
I'm looking for the names.
He also makes suits for veterans, offers dozens for free every year. He calls it suits of honor.
You know, we're not in the clothing business. We change people's lives, and that's what makes it fun. There you go.
Perfect.
Chad Fleming
Not at all.
is one of those changed lives. An Army captain who, even after becoming a battle-scarred lower leg amputee, chose to deploy 5 more times.
It's not every day's a good day, but there's good in every day.
But his good days in civilian clothes never quite matched that military dress uniform feeling.
The sense of pride that you get, especially when other people notice, there's no feeling like it. Dude, you were like Superman. It's the same in one of these suits.
It changes the way people see them.
And Bob Bauman,
I would do that right there.
wants to change a few more.
Perfect.
So for at least the month of July, anytime a customer spends $2,500 here, Bob Bauman will offer a complete suit for a veteran for free.
You stand in front of the mirror, you look like $1 million. Well, then you start thinking like $1 million. You start acting like $1 million.
If you look your best, you perform at your best.
And Chad Fleming's best performances include work as a public speaker, always in one of Bob Bauman's tailor-made suits. He wants other veterans to feel that power and pride too.
It's my turn to pay it back, to pay it forward, to help those who will be coming up next.
Coming up next, and dressed for civilian success.
That's it right there.
In Addison, I'm Kevin Reese.
When the first cowboy hits the arena floor at the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo in Fort Worth Juneteenth weekend, it will be the first rodeo for some military veterans like Crystal Chisholm.
It's like a check off the bucket list. I'm super excited. I'm getting my cowboy boots and everything.
As part of their community give back, BPIR organizers are serving up a first-class welcome to those who have served our country. It's part of rodeo owner Valeria Cunningham's campaign called BPIR Cares.
How do we let the community know the resources we have, what we've done?
Other invitational outreach programs include scholarships and rodeo grants for young people. BPIR has also raised awareness about domestic violence during the rodeo. The organization has even partnered with healthcare workers during the pandemic for wellness initiatives. Chisholm is a Dallas native who entered the Army after high school. Now, as a college grad and a DeSoto City Council member, she and other vets are extremely thankful for being recognized for their service to our country.
And I'm going to be extremely country when I'm there so that I can bask in the glory of it while I'm there.
Veterans from across Texas will bask in the glory of a Western weekend experience. And although for some vets it won't be their first rodeo, it will be all about them.
To not only just watch the rodeo, but participate in it as a veteran, I feel honored.
In Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
The bronze statues are a tribute to the celebration of flight.
What's happening? It's exciting.
It is exciting.
Celebration is what two sisters were in search of at DFW Airport.
Grandma would be saying, "Thank you, Jesus."
Sandra Hammond's and Brenda Bommert's grandmother, who died never knowing what happened to her son. First Lieutenant Noel Shoup, a 25-year-old from Dublin, Texas, his B-17 shot down over France, declared missing and dead 79 years ago.
We knew about him because our grandmother talked about him all the time.
I know my grandmother. I know she prayed, "Dear God, bring my boy home." Now here's God. 79 years later, he's answering her prayer. He is bringing her boy home.
And on that 108-degree day on the tarmac at DFW Airport,
This is a real good one because he's finally coming home.
Noel Shoup did come home.
Welcome home, Noel.
Two nieces celebrating meeting him for the very first time,
Put your hand over your heart.
even though they knew the meeting would be like this.
Welcome home, Uncle. Finally home, Grandma.
It's a really refreshing thing to see.
It is.
That there are this many people that care this much.
And I'm so thankful that he gets that honor, because he deserves it.
But the long overdue honors were just beginning. September 11th would have been Noel Shoup's 105th birthday. A good day, his family decided to bring their hero home.
Thank you for your presence here today.
Noel Shoup was found in just the last few years because the crash site was searched again. And in addition to DNA, a gold ring was pulled from the French countryside. Dublin High School, 1936, with Noel Shoup's initials engraved inside.
You know what? He's home today. Amen? He is.
And as the hearse carried Noel Shoup to a grave near his parents at Upper Greens Creek Cemetery,
Final resting place, Noel.
that gold ring was on a gold chain
Phenomenal.
that his niece now wears around her neck.
May thou walk through the valley in the shadow of death. I will fear no evil.
The family of Noel Shoup, they know that a cemetery isn't a normal spot for a celebration.
And all the people said,
Amen.
But that's exactly what they wanted this to be, because from World War II alone, more than 72,000 families of the missing
Grateful Nation,
are still waiting
please take this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved ones.
for a celebration like this.
Honorable and faithful service.
And to their grandmother buried just a few feet away, Brenda wanted to say one more thing.
Your son is finally home, Grandma. God has answered your prayer. What else can you say?
What else other than welcome home?
Finally home.
In Dublin, Texas, I'm Kevin Reese.
And the sisters aren't alone. The U.S. military has identified hundreds of remains in recent years using advanced DNA testing. One of them is Sergeant Willie Batty, who was reported missing 74 years ago today while fighting in the Korean War. Sergeant Batty will be laid to rest tomorrow at Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery.
There it is.
At Dallas-Fort Worth Airport,
Wow.
It's an amazing story.
Beautiful.
Steve Norris is waiting to welcome his uncle,
He's home.
Can you believe it?
an uncle he's always known but never met.
It was the first time we had both been in the same place at the same time.
I lost it in a minute.
It was an opportunity in a moment that you never thought it was going to happen.
Frank Norris grew up on a cotton farm in Quinlan before going off to Europe to fight in World War II. He was a 23-year-old flight engineer on a B-24 bomber like this one, when in August of '43, he was shot down and killed over Nazi-controlled Romania.
We had no idea where in Romania he had crashed, and so we had no idea where his remains might be.
Eventually, they found out where the plane went down, but Ordith wasn't there. Just a memorial marking the spot.
He had been in combat for 6 months. He flew 32 missions.
This all happened years before Steve and his sister Nancy were even born.
August 1st, 1943.
And although they never met their uncle, they were raised knowing all about him.
We grew up with those stories.
It gave us a real sense of who he was.
But they never found out where he was.
Right.
Ordith's parents, brother, and sisters all died, never knowing.
They knew what they were up against.
Despite that, the Army never stopped looking.
Yeah, the Army never gave up. They haven't given up.
Forward, march.
Which is why, just in case, a few years ago,
Reset.
they asked Steve for some DNA.
It was early 2021 when they called us and said we found him.
79 years after leaving for war, Technical Sergeant Frank Norris came home.
Reach up for it.
Ordith had been so hard to find.
Guide it in.
Because his remains had been moved from the crash site to a cemetery in Belgium.
We pray that we may continue to honor his sacrifice. Amen.
Frank Norris was escorted back home to Quinlan.
We are here today along with his family to honor World War II hero Sergeant Frank Norris.
He fought so that we might still enjoy those freedoms today.
They had to have the service in the high school auditorium because there wasn't a church in town big enough.
After 79 years, he's home. I felt all the emotions that I think my grandmother and grandfather and my father would feel in that moment. And it was a little overwhelming.
We are grateful to not only the Army, but the nation for bringing him home.
Wow. Amazing.
We come to the final resting place.
Sir, on behalf of the President of the United States.
He was buried with full military honors in a small cemetery next to his parents.
As a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's serviceable and honorable service.
Thank you.
If you had the chance to talk to your uncle, what would you tell him?
That I loved him without knowing him. You know, that I'm glad he was here for all of us.
And that's the best part.
This is our prayer. Amen.
Knowing that he is, finally, here. In Quinlan, I'm Sean Gicke.
And then they'll come out later and take pictures.
Okay, leftovers.
Yeah, leftovers, yeah.
Salir para afuera, está bien caliente aquí.
Julian Morales woke up Wednesday morning to a living room full of appreciation. Appreciation worthy of raising a flag in his front yard.
Mostly on special days.
And this day more special than most.
I got a lot to thank God for. Let me walk this ground this long.
Army Master Sergeant Julian Morales is 95 years old today.
You guys gonna get me in trouble. Where's my wife?
3 tours in Vietnam, 2 years as a Korean War POW. But most important to him, a husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather.
He's 20.
They're friends. They love me and I love them. That's the best I can put it.
His family wanted to tell him the same thing, just a bit louder.
But I didn't expect all of this today.
Well, I knew about this.
So next to a sign the city of Lake Worth put in his front yard.
We have a surprise for you. Here they come, Dad.
Lake Worth Fire and Police and all those neighbors and friends
Oh, look, Daddy.
paraded by to loudly proclaim their appreciation for a 95-year-old hero too.
Thank you.
A surprise gesture enough to make a grown daughter cry.
Because I still have my dad and he's 95. I don't want them to wait for him to pass and celebrate the veteran that he is and the man that he is. I want them to celebrate him now for the man that still stands.
A man who stood for his country, for his family, is standing proudly today for his own parade.
And this is a birthday.
This is a birthday.
I want to thank you each and every one of you.
And he has plans to still be standing at 100.
You guys made my day.
When we can celebrate him all over again.
A blessed day.
Beautiful day.
In Lake Worth.
Happy birthday, sir. It's a pleasure.
This is a day I will never forget.
I'm Kevin Reese.
It's a good day.
The war in Iraq.
The battle in Iraq, with Sam, it had people shooting at you.
Ended over 10 years ago.
But this battle's really been a battle with red tape.
But Alan Vought's war.
Very excited to see him tomorrow.
When the people of Fallujah had no drinking water. ends on Friday. An Iraqi translator he hired in the early 2000s to help him on missions in Fallujah will officially begin a new chapter in America. He spent years on the run, dodging militias, terrorist groups, anyone looking to execute someone for helping Americans.
To be translators with the U.S. military had prices put on their head.
In 2003, Vaught helped set up U.S.-supported governments as Saddam Hussein's regime fell.
Sam was amongst the first group of Iraqis we hired.
An interpreter, who will only call Sam for his protection, helped Vaught navigate. Fiercely loyal, too. The last time the two saw each other, 2004. Vaught had been injured in an ambush. Sam drove miles through hostile territory just to check on him.
And he made that dangerous journey to see me.
He didn't have to do that.
No, I was surprised.
When the U.S. was nearly fully withdrawn from the area in 2011, Sam was no longer needed.
I got a message from him on Facebook.
So Vaught, who's also an attorney, started working to bring him to America. Over 10 years of work, navigating the refugee process. He even sued in 2017 during President Trump's travel ban to get Sam accepted to the U.S. and won. But then...
And then COVID, boom.
A pandemic. Yet Friday, the work is worth it all. Sam arrives to Love Field from California. Vaught will be his sponsor, working to find him a job, a new life.
Because I feel like I owe Sam.
And his war.
I probably wouldn't be going to this effort for anybody else.
Will be over. In Dallas, I'm Matt Howerton.
Show me a few things that are in it.
Yeah, give me an idea of who the players are. So this is the family program. You don't know the players without the program.
In the man cave of his Fort Worth home, Michael Bennett's pride in his military career is very much on display.
There's a lot of resemblance.
Along with this picture of a 3-year-old boy in Japan about to start his new life in America.
My parents never hid the fact that I was adopted.
Adopted in the early 1950s, his biological parents, a Japanese woman and an American serviceman.
There are so many kids that pop up after conflicts, after wars, and I was one of those.
But his adoptive parents made sure he knew who his real mom was. Yoshiko Nakajima, alone with a mixed-race baby in an unaccepting country for that at the time.
She was a single mom and thought the best for me would be to be raised in America.
Fast forward some 60 years as only child Michael Bennett grows up in the U.S., joins the Army, becomes a Green Beret, and raises an American family of his own.
I've had a blessed life. I'm real happy with how things turned out for me.
But at the age of 68,
Come here.
He wanted to know more.
Down.
He turned to 23andMe to figure out who he really was. No big surprise, he was half Japanese, half Anglo-European, but then the first message came.
We have a lot of DNA in common. I know all my family, I don't know who you are.
It was someone in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Is your mother's name Yoshiko Nakajima? And I was like, they have my mother's name. We know who your father is, and you have a huge family, and they all want to talk to you.
What did that do to you, honestly?
Oh, it really knocked me for a loop.
You're an only child.
Yeah.
Or so you thought.
Yeah, it really floored me.
And a few days later,
Robin and Nikki are the ones that put this book together.
He met Robin Reed.
Hey, Robin.
Who turned his world upside down.
I can't see the top of your face.
You know what it looks like? It looks just like yours.
His late father, their father, was a man named Dick Webster.
And this is him.
A man who told a sad story that he fell in love with a woman named Yoshiko, had a son, and begged to stay with them in Japan.
The Air Force said, you've been here for 4, you're going back.
Never to see them again.
He was a broken-hearted man over losing his family in Japan.
He remarried, started a family in Ohio, and tried to move on.
Don't you make me cry. That picture of that little boy stayed with me all these years. That head full of black hair and those beautiful dark eyes stayed with me all these years. And I wanted to know where my brother was.
Both of Michael's biological parents died before he could meet them, but after a 14-hour drive to Cincinnati, he found Robin and his 7 brothers and sisters standing on the curb waiting to greet him.
I don't know if they're all huggers, but they were that day, and I am not, but I was.
And they told him he looked more like their dad,
so go figure,
than any of them did.
It was like looking at a ghost, and to be able to hug him, that's powerful.
We really wanted to find him.
I thank the Lord above that we got in touch before the end of our days. We picked you, Mike, and you picked us, and I thank you so much for that.
Thank you, brother. Love you.
I love you more.
Love you, man.
Good girl. Wait.
Not all DNA stories end like this.
Where's your ball?
But this one has a Fort Worth veteran talking and texting and hugging as often as he can.
It's opened up a whole new world for me of family.
He is one of us. He is a part of us. He belongs to us.
Thank you, sister. I get to be a big brother. I cherish that. I'm having a great time.
And I don't want to miss another moment.
The next moment, with plenty of hugs, is scheduled for Fort Worth in June.
And now we're 8.
Love you, Mike.
Love you, sweetie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
In Fort Worth, I'm Kevin Reese. A student orchestra and choir performing the Marine Corps hymn and other military ballads in the Grapevine High School auditorium was an emotional moment all its own. For veterans like Dan Decker sitting near the front row, the walk to get here had already been the highlight of an otherwise dark and dreary day. Moments earlier, in what has become a more than 2-decade tradition at Grapevine High, a paper red carpet was placed in the high school halls, and the invited veterans, led by students on a ceremonial march, got a long overdue parade, rousing applause, and a fist bump or two of their own.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Dan Decker, a Vietnam veteran, never had a welcome home like this.
This is something else. This is amazing. My first time here.
The Veterans Day ceremony included Navy veteran Stephen Hawley, who started Dallas's Carry the Load, hoping a younger generation would understand all of this.
I used to ride honor guard.
And as veterans and students chatted at a post-ceremony breakfast, it was clear that's exactly what is happening here.
This is amazing. I'm blown away that the high school goes to this level, you know, and does this for us.
I hope that they feel recognized and that they feel seen, that they feel heard.
It reaffirms my belief in the future of America.
And that's what some youthful exuberance, some red carpet, and a long overdue thank you achieved on this Veterans Day.
Thank you.
With students and teachers promising to keep parading this same gesture of thanks every Veterans Day to come. Wow. Grapevine High School. I'm Kevin Reese.
Volunteers spent Friday morning unpacking a gift for Robert Burks, who needs help beating the heat.
When it get too hot, you can't stay in there. You can't sleep, you gotta have something on.
For years, the U.S. veteran lived through the summer without any air conditioning. Despite temps topping 100, you'll see him sitting outside because inside feels even hotter.
I don't sit in there. I have the fans on in them, but either way, if I had to go in there and take care of some business or something, I go in there and do what I need to do.
Now, thanks to Daryl Washington and his volunteer team, veterans like Burks are getting free window air conditioning units. Washington started the giveaway years ago after learning about so many seniors suffering without any relief.
It just made me think I wouldn't want nobody, grandmother, no elder, no veteran, to go without any air conditioning. So that's what, plus I just love doing it. That's why I do it.
Washington gets emotional when talking about his mission, thinking about if his own family didn't have air conditioning.
Sad, because I hate to see people.
Daryl Washington hates to see people like veteran Odell Jemison suffering in the heat. Another reason he and his team recruits police, firefighters, and sheriff department personnel to help with the installations.
This is the second installation that we had the privilege of being a part of today to just let things get a little cooler.
I mean, I'm gonna do this until I can't do it anymore.
In Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
Which one was your good side? We talked about that last time.
I don't think I've got a good side. That's the problem.
Yes. The last time we talked with John Lucky Luckadoo at Presbyterian Village North, where he lives, was on his 100th birthday 2 months ago. We're back in a crowded auditorium waiting to surprise him because he reached one more big milestone.
Wonderful.
The World War II bomber pilot is the last surviving member of the Bloody 100th, a name unfortunately earned because so few survived dangerous daytime bombing runs over Germany. So, today, he gave the same heartfelt speech he's done so many times before.
Shudder to think that you're trying to paint me as a hero, because I ain't no hero. The real heroes are those who did not come home. And the real heroes are also those who stayed home and outproduced the world.
Which is why for years now he's pushed for a National Homefront Heroes Day, A Veterans Day of sorts for every Rosie the Riveter and everyone else at home who helped fight the war.
Congressman, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
And today, Congressman Colin Allred showed up, a bipartisan resolution in hand to make Lucky's last mission finally come true.
What a life. What an incredible life of service you've led, Major.
At 100, Lucky's Damn Lucky biography is now in print. Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks are working on a bloody 100th documentary. But a National Homefront Heroes Day, officially approved by Congress, is what he's looking forward to the most.
With congressional support, of course, we can achieve our goal.
Because 100 or not, Lucky isn't done fighting for his country just yet. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
For Louis Madoff, it's a good day.
I got off to a good start. I woke up.
The 96-year-old World War II veteran was at the Rangers game Friday night.
But he just likes being at the ballpark. He likes the atmosphere.
And he's got one of our cameras pointed at him, which he loves. And so do his granddaughters.
Are you famous now?
Am I famous?
Yeah.
I've always been famous.
Louis is in hospice for dementia. He remembers stories from decades ago like they were yesterday.
What was your specialty in the Army?
Killing people.
It's full of malarkey.
Short-term memory is harder for him. Today, though, his last wish to go to a Rangers game is special.
I don't think he'll forget this at all. I don't think he'll forget it at all.
He also hasn't forgotten what got him here.
Take things as they come. Don't dwell on anything. Live your life the best you can. Always be willing to help the other guy.
And just ask his wife. He's lived up to that mantra.
I've always felt loved. I've always felt needed, wanted. It's amazing. They don't make them like him anymore. They broke the mold with that one. Everybody tells me, where did you get him at? I said, honey, they broke the mold when they made him. Because he's just that special. That's a favorite daughter.
An unforgettable night. One last Rangers game for a man who has lived life so well. At Globe Life Field in Arlington, I'm Mike Leslie.
When Don DeWin goes for a ride on his 2016 Harley Road Glide, he's more than just an old Marine on his way to work.
I love this bike. You know, you can just get on it and ride for miles.
He stopped in a parking lot to explain.
You know, I'll tell you why I ride a bike is because I enjoy it. I mean, you drove your car here this morning. Yeah. You know, I rode my bike here this morning. I had fun. Did you have fun?
Dude, I'm driving a Ford Escape. Come on.
I mean, you look like a cool dude and all, but I'm just saying, you know, I had a good time riding my bike here this morning.
That's why the One Tribe Foundation, which helps military veterans with issues like PTSD, includes a wind therapy program. They found that if your attention is on the road ahead, you can't dwell on the demons that might be chasing you.
It just helps them kind of be in the moment. All the problems and things kind of get left behind for a little bit while you're riding. So
now the scientists would like to prove why.
So what I got was a lot of this just interest in caring for one another.
UT Arlington graduate assistants Letitia Thomas and Christine Heifel.
This study has been incredibly rewarding.
And assistant professor in the School of Social Work Donna Schumann are surveying veterans and studying the physiological benefits that make a motorcycle such an effective PTSD treatment.
So we're hoping that what we'll find is that riding actually increases the veteran riders' resilience and their ability to manage stress.
But while the scientists and psychologists invite other riders to take part in their UT Arlington study to help them quantify why something like this works, Don DeWin will tell you he just knows that it does.
You have to find those moments that remind you that you're still alive.
Sometimes all that veterans with PTSD need to keep them that way. In Arlington, I'm Kevin Reese.
Suit up.
I'll be subsonic.
And strap in.
Jump up, and I'm wide awake and ready to go.
Because the danger zone
just always a dream of mine to fly
is closer to North Texas than you might think. Top Gun Maverick comes out this weekend, and there's a ton of excitement. But if you look up around the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base in Fort Worth,
Took it through some aerobatics to test that.
you'll find our very own best of the best flying the same type of planes you'll see in the movie.
Cowboys, VMFA 112.
The Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 112 fly the F-18 Hornet here daily.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Todd Peterson. My call sign is Forrest.
One of its members
I graduated Top Gun in, would have been March in 2012.
is even a real Top Gun grad.
Is it anything like the movie? Mostly no.
Yep, no shirtless volleyball matches, folks. Just top-tier pilots learning tactics so they can go back to their squadrons and be instructors. However,
I think it serves its purpose. It certainly had an impact on me when I was a kid, and I think this new one will have an impact on many future aviators.
the original movie brought a military recruitment boom in 1986, and it could happen again.
Put 6 IMAX quality cameras.
All the flying scenes in this new movie are real, captured by IMAX cameras in the cockpit.
These actors were in the aircraft. You saw the G-forces, you saw the exhaustion.
Okay, I'm rolling. It's a never-before-seen glimpse.
Can't really think of anything better.
One of the coolest jobs in our backyard. In Fort Worth, I'm Matt Howerton.
In a courtyard at a complex in East Dallas,
and we are memorializing all those who might have lost their lives.
Tenants and neighbors gathered on Monday.
By the time I graduated from high school, I went back to Vietnam.
W.T. Tyler and other residents here are all veterans. They're honoring fallen service members this Memorial Day, remembering the sacrifices of so many.
Just think about the people that put their lives on the line for us.
The Memorial Day event at this site is significant. This complex is called Heroes House. It's a place dedicated to affordable housing for veterans in Dallas. Army vet David Lane is another longtime resident.
If somebody needs something, they just help out. That's just the way we are. It's like a big family.
Neighbors say the sense of community here is unmatched, knowing many veterans often face so many quality of life hurdles after returning home.
Being around them make me feel good because it brings back good memories to me.
And the residents here can't do it alone. At Heroes House, these veterans are sharing their experiences and stories with elected officials from all levels of government this holiday.
The service that you have provided makes it possible for me to be on your shoulders.
Hoping the connections can help lead to more partnerships and resources for veterans across the region.
It is easy to be here where there's no war. It is easy to write and wish them well when they are away. But being in the military is not that easy.
In Dallas, I'm Damon Fernandez.
It was a Monday morning. American Airlines Flight 115 from Honolulu.
You okay?
DFW Airport Gate D27.
Very emotional day.
Intensely emotional for Sheila Curvin, her cousin Irma Flemings, and their uncle, Ulysses Cherry.
A long time coming.
A long time for someone to come home. It was the late 1940s. His name was R.B. Cherry, one of 16 Dallas brothers and sisters. But he wanted to see the world.
Our dad told us that we had an uncle that went off to war and never came home.
The Korean War. R.B. Cherry was just 19 years old when he became just a story to the nieces he would never get to see.
I just always knew that he was missing in action, and that was really all the information that I had.
It just brings back old memories, man. Just hate.
Ulysses at 89 is the youngest and the only one left of those 16 brothers and sisters. Is today a good day or a difficult day?
Difficult day.
Difficult day.
Yeah. It brought back old memories.
Because for 70 years he never knew what happened to his big brother, until the Defense POW MIA accounting agency more closely looked at remains, repatriated to the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Hawaii, remains designated only as X13460. Burial records, witness accounts, and DNA would finally prove that R.B. Cherry, a 19-year-old kid from Texas, died in a prisoner of war camp in Korea all those years ago.
You can just relive the thing yourself inside of you, knowing, oh my God, he actually went through something as horrific as that, and that's really painful to even consider and think about.
A lot of pain, a lot of heartache for my uncle, but I'm just glad that he's still here to be able to know that his brother is finally coming home.
Their story is one they wanted to share because from the Korean War alone, more than 7,000 families are still waiting for the same difficult answer on this same difficult kind of day.
Whether I knew him or not, he was still family. That was my dad's brother. And to not know, what happens to your family is kind of hard.
It's hard at times, It just, I don't know.
So in these moments that happen dozens of times each year at DFW Airport, understand that there are families struggling with a mix of sadness, relief, and sometimes joy.
It was just beautiful, yeah, and my heart was just racing and so happy inside, but yet tears of joy, that he made it home.
One more lost son, brother, and uncle found after a very long journey home. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese. In the life they've built for themselves in Forney, Mark and Sherry Elliott have had quite the adventure.
I went to live with my mom.
But not all of it an adventure.
It was a very dysfunctional home.
He remembers so fondly.
Extremely dysfunctional, and I leave it there.
Mark and his sister Shauna had different dads, but their mom would never really tell him.
Even last year,
who?
As my mom was on her deathbed, I asked again, Mom, are you sure? And she said, there is no one else it could be. But obviously my mom was still hiding something.
He can offer a smile a year after his mom's passing because of what happened next.
Begin your journey at Ancestry.com.
His wife bought him a DNA kit. They sent it in, then decided to take a small vacation.
We were literally between Houston and Galveston. I got a text.
Unusual names were showing up, ones he'd never heard before. But this one, Bewley, his older sister, somehow remembered.
Now, granted, this is the memory of a 4-year-old child. Yeah. She said, but I vaguely remember a man named Arlie Bewley dating Mom.
Text messages and emails zipped back and forth across the country, and within just a few days.
And we're sitting in the hotel room for our anniversary.
8:30 that night.
And my phone rings.
Yeah.
And he said, this is Arlie Bewley. I'm supposed to call you. And what do you want? And I said, hold on.
Who told them, yes, he had been in Hobbs, New Mexico 52 years ago. And yes, he did date a woman named Ginger.
And he goes, well, what does Ginger have to do with this? And I said, well, I'm her son, and I'm not going to pull any punches, but I believe that you are my dad. And at that point, the phone got extremely silent. It's happy, he was, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. He said, I'm an old man, oh boy.
What Arlie Bewley was able to say next was that he lived in Lufkin, 3 hours southeast of Forney. And he agreed to meet.
Knock, knock, Dad. How you doing?
But this is the Arlie Bewley they found, living alone, on disability, in a one-bedroom shack. Are you glad he found you?
How do I express that? It's probably the most wonderful thing that ever happened to me.
The same square chin, all that gray hair, and a paternity test proved Arlie Bewley was his dad. So do you like this guy, Arlie? Do you like him?
No, I don't. I love him. It's almost unbelievable. It's like a fantasy come true, really.
But now that Mark Elliott had found his dad, he simply couldn't leave him here.
I had to work to get him out of that situation.
Which is why our next conversation was in the cab of a U-Haul truck.
Sometimes God gives you the ability to do something, and when he gives you the ability, what is your response? And if you put those two words together, you have responsibility.
Responsibility he wouldn't have to bear alone. How long did it take you to jump in and say, yeah, this is something we're going to help with?
About 30 seconds.
Because Brian Wilburn at Veterans Resource and Outreach Center of Rowlett learned that Arlie was a Korean War veteran. And after a few phone calls, Home Depot donated thousands in construction materials. Veterans motorcycle groups and others donated their labor. And in a few months, a one-room cabin took shape on Mark Elliott's 10 acres, back in Forney.
All right, you ready to go in?
Arlie came home.
Here's your house. Welcome home, Dad.
On a Friday afternoon.
When I was totally without a family, I now have one, and it's such a blessing to know that you got some kind of a family. Had it not been for him calling me, I would have never known. I thank the Lord for bringing him into my life, and I'm very proud that he did.
That's something you want to do every day.
He served our country, and he deserves better than what he had.
There's a lot of really good people out there that want to give back to the veteran community. Thank you to them for a job well done.
When I say my prayer at night, my first thank you is for God for bringing me my son and his family.
And a family of strangers.
I agree.
Who banded together to bring him home.
Everything is awesome.
Now,
it's awesome.
In Forney, I'm Kevin Reese. At the National Aviation Education Center, it was almost like the arrival of royalty, but so much more important than that.
how are you today, sir?
Doing fine. We got the sun shining. And
He is Brigadier General Charles McGee, the oldest living Tuskegee Airman, arriving to see a display.
What is the strength of our country?
That is all about him.
His record of 409 combat missions is an Air Force record that still stands today.
But under a full-scale replica of the P-51 Mustang he used to fly, with his name on the side and his wife's nickname that was on every plane he flew. I asked him this.
Are you really 101?
Let me think. Yes, in 3 weeks from 102.
And his is a life the Commemorative Air Force and its new National Aviation Education Center hopes can inspire a next generation. That if he and thousands of others could overcome segregation and racism to literally soar, what could today's students achieve?
We want students to see themselves in the faces of those who served before. So here we've got the faces and the stories and the characters so they can see it and be it.
Accomplishment that I can be proud of, but service that's so important to be able to pass on to our young folks.
He would be the guest of honor at a grand opening ceremony in front of the same bombers the Tuskegee Airmen used to fly in formation to protect. But it's the lessons that outlive him that he hopes will take flight now.
Many blessings from the good Lord, for sure, as it's truly a blessing all the way. The story is still being told. Again, that's a blessing for sure.
A story today, 102 years and counting. At Dallas Executive Airport, I'm Kevin Reese.
I feel like this is my soulmate.
For Brandy and LeVar Allen,
God made it just for me.
Theirs is a love story of a U.S. Navy vet and a hardworking wife that's truly been put to test over the past year, especially that part of the Allens' vows that says, through sickness and in health.
I tested positive for COVID in April of 2020.
You see, the Allens learned Brandy's case of COVID advanced to kidney failure 4 days after diagnosis.
I was afraid.
The couple spent months traveling between their home in Shreveport to Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas for dialysis and treatments.
Seeing her and me not knowing, not being able to help her, it was actually hurting me.
LeVar decided to do something more. Months ago, he secretly began testing to see if he could be an organ donor match for his wife. Brandy was already on a waiting list for a kidney.
When God brings someone to you and they're perfect for you, he ain't just gonna take them away from you.
After a series of tests, LeVar got some surprising news.
He was like, boom, congratulations, I'm your donor. So I was ready then.
The Allens prepared for and completed kidney transplant surgery at Baylor Medical Center earlier this month.
They were so bought in.
Dr. Angie Wall is an abdominal transplant surgeon and part of the team that worked with the couple.
The majority of patients with kidney disease wait on the list for years and years. The ones who are lucky enough to have a potential living donor, like Brandy, are able to get off that list way sooner.
As for the Allens, they're now focusing on getting back to a normal routine.
I could tell we're like closer now.
As they recover in Dallas, their connection growing even stronger. Planning their next trips, even travel to France for their kidney transplant anniversary.
This little hurdle is something that could prolong her life along to be with me.
In Dallas, I'm Damon Fernandez.
How are you? He said.
The house in Frisco is easy to find.
He asked you how you are.
It's the only one celebrating a 100th birthday.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Bernie Suter's birthday.
What's it like being 100 years old?
100.
Yes, you're 100. What is it like? You said I'm an old
fart.
But Burnett Bernie Suter is so much more than that. A World War II veteran, a machine gun-toting soldier his buddies called Smiley, who stormed Utah Beach on D-Day and helped liberate a concentration camp near the Czechoslovakian border.
Do you remember where you went to fight World War II?
The problem, at 100.
Did you land on a beach?
Yeah.
In Normandy?
Bernie's memories.
Utah?
Are beginning to fade.
Utah Beach.
Yeah. I tell people who want to talk to him that I'm his memory now. Sorry.
Sandy Suter Richards is his only child.
He's been my hero for a long time, and because I've known his story for a long time. I just think somebody has to keep the story going.
And on a Saturday morning,
that is awesome.
Reinforcements arrived.
Isn't that cool?
To help her keep telling that story.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl.
A 100-car parade, some vintage, some World War II, and even a golf cart or two. Outside Saddlebrook Memory Care in Frisco, where Bernie lives.
I love you, Pop.
Even a Cessna overhead.
Oh, the plane up there, Bernie, look.
Towing a Happy Birthday Bernie banner.
He's told me many, many stories.
And for a devoted daughter,
he's trying to keep as much of his memory alive as possible.
A captive audience to keep telling all those stories to anyone who'd listen.
I am just extremely proud of him, even though, you know, he's not always in the moment anymore, but I am, and our family is. We need to pass that along to our children, what these people were able to do to save our freedoms that we have today. Bernie, I don't know you, but I wish I did.
And back at home in a basket in her backyard.
To Bernie, happy 100th birthday.
More evidence for a daughter that Bernie's stories are still very much alive.
How cool is this?
Hundreds of cards for his 100th birthday from all over the world.
Thank you for your service and protecting our country.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The message in all this from a daughter is that we all eventually become the keepers of our parents' memories. But when it comes to her dad, Bernie Suter,
I have to say, I thought I was the only one tooting the horn for a long time.
She learned on a sunny Saturday morning in Frisco that she'll never be tooting that horn alone.
Now I see there are a lot of others out there.
In Frisco, I'm Kevin Reese.
Braving the elements is the smallest of sacrifices around here.
These people, you know, gave it their all.
This is for the bravest.
Thank you again. God bless you.
At Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery.
Well, I was having a conversation with him.
Maria Reynolds Diaz is here for her late husband, John.
Rain or shine.
He served 28 years. She wouldn't miss this.
Yes, starting to rain.
On Memorial Day.
I love being in love with him, and that I'm still very much in love with him.
You'll see nickels and dimes and quarters.
Erlina Hume and her family have been to 3 cemeteries for 3 veterans today. From Oklahoma down and pennies in hand.
This signifies that we came to visit.
Monday's weather did not cooperate, but families still showed.
I think the heavens are crying, accompanying us in our sadness.
Events across DFW have been canceled or moved.
You know, the rain signifies something.
The only moving happening around here is emotion.
They made it through a lot worse than this.
Small sacrifices to honor those who made the largest sacrifice. The rain made for a different experience, a quieter, more reverent one, a personal one.
Like I said, lived a very full life, lived every moment to the fullest.
These days are hard to mess up.
Appreciate you being here with all of us.
When the hearts and mind are in the right place.
Very tranquil, and it's a beautiful setting.
In Dallas, I'm Joe Paniker.
Marine veteran Michael Carnell often wears a chain around his neck.
Obviously it means more than just 22 links in a lock,
22 links for the 22 veterans on average who end their lives by suicide each day.
The lock on there is to represent that we're...
So for the last decade, he's helped raise awareness and money for veteran assistance groups like Carry the Load.
Give a round of applause to the entire Carnell family.
Yes. But today, he's the one who needs help.
The oncologist came out and he talked to me and told me that, we had stage 4 cancer. And
the diagnosis came just 2 months ago.
It's all this, your wife, your kids, your house, your mortgage, your bills, how's everything gonna get paid, what's gonna happen?
So at the Adaptive Training Foundation in Carrollton, dozens wrangled ropes and weights, medicine balls and machines. People who benefited from Michael's generosity gladly gave it back. Every sit-up, every lift, raising money for Michael's fight through the website teamcarnell.com.
Just a way for us to wrap our arms around him and tell him how much we love him and hopefully be able to raise some money for him.
But when you look at his 3 kids and his beautiful wife, that's what really gets us. So that's I think, we love Michael, but we really are about banding together, and the family is the why.
As much as a man on chemotherapy could, Michael joined in the workouts too. This is, as he says, his tribe, his people. And they're in this fight together.
They say it's incurable, but they don't know who I am.
But now his doctors do know his tribe will fight with him.
It's got 22 links that are on here.
Every step of the way.
We're a team.
In Carrollton.
And there's no more loose ends.
I'm Kevin Reese.
Sitting in the driver's seat of his Gator.
And just come on in.
That's where Joe Dolzalik likes to be.
And every year there's 1 million more.
While everyone else,
some of them are 18 inches,
enjoys all the bluebonnets.
Oh my God, I got plenty.
His family farm in Ennis has to offer.
There's people that actually have laid down spread eagle. Take my picture, they said.
Dolzalik is 74 and a Vietnam veteran. And for the last 5 years, his property has been a go-to in April for photographers, families, anyone wanting a shot.
There's about 35 acres bluebonnets here.
With all this Texas beauty.
This is a Texas ice field.
This month, he's had conversations with people from all over America.
And it just goes on and on.
Truly amazing. Even overseas on this Gator. And those conversations, they mean something. I'm good. COVID-19 kept a lot of people inside last year, while bluebonnets like this grew.
Oh, absolutely.
Thankfully.
Oh, boy. They just think this is the best place in the world. I said, you want to buy it?
Things are very different now for this vet.
And just keep multiplying.
So before these iconic fields go to seed,
we share.
Dolzalik says, come soak this in while it lasts.
Just come on back here and
in Ennis.
Take them, then you can go home. You've seen the best.
I'm Matt Howerton.
What is the best way to thank a veteran? Dallas on Veterans Day morning. Maybe like this. 130 people at CrossFit Dallas Central combining their rows, their pedals, their skiing sprints to log 1 million meters and raise $10,000 for the veterans organization Carry the Load. Evidence for a veteran Navy SEAL of a thank you put into action.
So, thank you's great. Thanks for your service. I love that. That's great. But mean it, be worth it, and put hands and feet on that and go do something with it.
Just a great opportunity to think about others.
And another example at a house in McKinney, the one with the puppy statue that welcomes you at the front door. Air Force veteran Jason Morgan and his dog Yago, the dog helping save him after that accident fighting drug cartels in Ecuador 21 years ago.
I was thrown from the vehicle and then the vehicle rolled over the top of me.
Paralyzed ever since, he's gotten help from Canine Companions for Independence through Baylor, Scott, and White. A dog to pick up what he drops, to open and close doors and drawers, to be his constant companion. And last week, deliver an engagement ring to Jason's fiancée. She said yes.
He did an amazing job, especially for his first big task in front of a big live audience. There's no way to put in words how much having this dog means to me and how much it benefits my life. It's so great to live in a country where People appreciate their veterans.
So how did you appreciate a veteran? How did you say thank you today?
To have a day to press pause from all the that's going on and think about that, I think, is really special.
Special today and every day, thanking them any way you can. In Dallas and McKinney, I'm Kevin Reese.
We are often told that life is about the journey.
Driving's pretty therapeutic.
The coming, the going.
Time to reflect back on some good memories.
For David Bauman, it's the 1,400-mile journey that finds a Californian in Plano, Texas, on a purpose.
Not appropriate for this to arrive via mail.
Instead, he's arrived.
They said when the pipes and drums start playing, the chills start.
And so have brothers and sisters in service to this retirement community.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to get the words out.
1,400 miles on the road, and now
Freeze it!
just steps from Anita Ballantyne.
I present to you this flag in honor of your son, Brian.
Brian, or Buck, was a Los Angeles firefighter who died in July in the line of duty. And this flag flew where Brian served in California. It has taken that journey
Yes, I'm holding it.
to a mother's arms.
Holding it tight. I can feel his presence.
Anita could not travel, could not attend her own son's funeral because of the pandemic. Had to watch it online.
Just really heartache. But this, my gosh, it's as if I were there.
She lost her husband 27 years ago, also a firefighter, also in the line of duty.
I hand-delivered it. It's the right thing to do.
Also why Anita clutches that flag like a young mother holds a child. Life is a trip worth taking. In Plano, I'm Jobin Paniker.
In Arlington, the tradition now is a field of flags, a field of honor at Veterans Park, an annual visual reminder of the lives lost that horrible morning and the lives of others lost in service to their country. But all these years later, what do we do with those memories?
I remember like it was yesterday. I was at
David Lindsay, a retired Dallas firefighter, he lost friends that morning.
When you have the largest loss of firefighters in one single day, nobody forgets that.
And a decade later, he lost friend Todd Crodel in a Dallas fire. A foundation in his name helps firefighter families in difficult moments like these.
We try to make sure that those families still know that they're a part of the fire family, and that's the main thing. We don't want them to think that their loved one's ever going to be forgotten.
That's why the Dallas nonprofit Carry the Load put every one of those 2,977 names on their Facebook page this morning, part of a promise to serve the families left behind.
Together, we will make sure these victims of evil are remembered.
And it's why veterans gathered on a golf course near DFW Airport this morning, raising money for Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas and the generation of soldiers who answered the call because of September 11th.
The main thing to me was important is that what these guys were doing to try to help veterans. I don't know where I'd be. They saved my life.
So on another painful anniversary, we are often asked to remember, to pledge that we will never forget. People like David Lindsay ask that in their memory.
We want to speak those guys' names out loud. We want to, we want to talk about them.
That you also offer someone a helping hand. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
We would just do fun things.
If a picture paints 1,000 words, then a flight attendant curled up in the turbine of a 707 just might have an awful lot to say.
And I thought, I'm good. I can do this. This is what I signed up for.
Her name is B.J. Elliott Pryor, an air hostess they called her way back in the day.
And it was very scary.
Because she flew for Continental Airlines as part of the Military Airlift Command, flying soldiers to the Vietnam War, and a tour later, flying the survivors home.
The guys would absolutely applaud and scream, which we loved. All those soldiers that we left behind that never made it back home, that's what hurts us. That's what war is about.
Her stories from that war are in a book she wrote. It's called Behind My Wings, which leads to one more picture and the stories it can tell.
We've always seen this soldier.
An Airman E3 to be exact, a flower in his hair, a stewardess named Gloria Dorman sitting on his lap, trying to take his mind off the war he was about to see. But nobody knew who he was. Nobody remembered his name.
When I called her, I said, Gloria, you are not going to believe this.
Because when B.J. Elliott Pryor showed the photo to her neighbor in Euless, a guy just 2 doors down,
Paul said, that's me. And we're all going, what? No, what?
You know, I do recall a young lady.
Meet neighbor Paul Raby, the airman in that photo 52 years later, now practically
I think I was
the boy next door.
I was 18 years old. I said, I'm not sure what to do. So I just
got that figured out by now.
I'm frozen as far as this young lady, beautiful young lady, sitting on my lap. I says, my trip to Vietnam may not be as bad as I thought.
Incredible. Just incredible.
So B.J. Elliott Pryor decided the 2 young kids in that one happy moment from Vietnam should probably see each other again. Gloria flew in from Houston.
And I went, oh my, there's no way. That can't be possible. He was very good looking in that picture.
I said, he's still good looking, but he is our age.
He's got flowers.
The boy next door
He's bringing flowers.
arrived on a Thursday afternoon.
Hi, Mr. Paul. Hey.
How you doing?
So good to meet you after 52 years.
Do I look like the guy I was?
Well, sort of.
Cuter.
Cuter.
Okay.
Right. More sophisticated.
I am so honored to be back here again. You
The
have
very
no
next day, they would be the guests of honor at a gathering of veterans in Fort Worth. Veterans also happy to share in this one good memory from Vietnam.
Was the best part. Yes. We love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
But back at the house in Euless, there was
wait
one
a
more
minute.
thing to do.
It has to be like this. Because, see, I was facing the aisle.
Retake that picture.
And my husband said it was okay for I could sit on your lap again.
Hot darn, I was hoping that might happen.
And flowers and all, that's exactly what they did their best to do.
You have to do it like the picture, see?
No, but you were on my knee.
No, I was on the armrest.
No, you weren't. I remember that body warmth. I'll tell you that. I swear to God.
Veterans will tell you that in the nightmares that war can bring, they will do their best to cling to at least one good memory. That's the power a single picture can hold. Especially, Paul says, if you're holding an air hostess named Gloria.
Camera.
At the same time.
Your wife said no groping.
Oh, no groping. Honey.
Watch that hand.
Oh, sorry.
In Euless, I'm Kevin Reese.
July 28, 1943. A B-17 on a bombing mission over Nazi Germany.
We were hit by fighters.
25-year-old bombardier Lieutenant Raul Manriquez watched from the nose as enemy fire tore into the flying fortress.
One 20mm came in through the Astrodome.
These are Manriquez's own words, brought to life 77 years later by his nephew Raul Duran.
We couldn't make it to the target.
In the shadow of a similar bomber at the Vintage Aviation Museum in Fort Worth.
2 B-17s were going down, one in flames, the other one just in a dive.
A few days after the B-17 crashed into the German countryside, Manriquez made headlines in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram.
Wife clings to hope that Raul Manriquez is alive.
But Frances Manriquez knew just how tough her husband was. After all, she'd been reading about it for years.
I'm surprised to find as many articles as I have found about him.
Manriquez first appeared in the paper in 1933 as a standout Northside High School football player.
They used to call him the Galloping Ghost.
His son, Richard Manriquez, says the shifty halfback was only 5'5", but what he lacked in size, he made up for in toughness and speed.
He could stop on a dime and give you change.
Manriquez was so good, the Hispanic community threw a party in his honor the following year. The Mexican consul at Dallas was a key speaker.
My uncle was only 16 at the time, so I mean, what a tribute.
But becoming a star in the Hispanic community made Manriquez a target for racism.
He got threatening letters. Well, one of them said, we're going to turn you into tamales, and then we're going to break your leg. And believe it or not, they did.
Manriquez recovered from the devastating leg injury to play halfback at Texas Wesleyan University, and when coaches needed him to, he even lined up on defense. According to reporters, Manriquez knocked 2 opposing ball carriers unconscious in a span of just 3 weeks.
No, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, he was a tough little guy, I guess, you know.
When the season ended, he took on his biggest challenge yet.
When Pearl Harbor was attacked, him and a number of his teammates immediately went and enlisted.
In a matter of months, he'd bombed numerous Nazi targets until enemy fighters shot him down. But the headlines didn't stop, and neither did the Galloping Ghost, who kept playing football in a POW camp. He wrote letters to his daughter, Patsy Ann, after whom the squad's bomber was named.
That was my older sister, and she was kind of like the little mascot.
The Star-Telegram followed the POW story until the prison camp was liberated. Manriquez returned a hero, at least to some.
Hispanics don't get the credit that was due to them for the service that they did in World War II.
Despite a lifetime excelling at the most American of sports and serving his country, Manriquez still faced racism in 1940s America.
Oh, I'm sure it was very difficult.
Manriquez responded through service, 2 decades in the military, another 2 decades as a teacher and mentor, along the way changing minds about what it means to be an American. The Star-Telegram printed Manriquez's name yet again in 1997 when he died. You won't see his story on monuments or in Hollywood blockbusters, but it lives on, with a veteran's marker at Mount Olivet Cemetery.
Pages after pages of pictures.
A collection of headlines and keepsakes, and a sense of pride in those who knew him best.
Proud. Proud, absolutely proud.
In Fort Worth, I'm Eric Alvarez.
Don't rock the jukebox. The music and the applause this past weekend were just part of something very serious going on at an Arlington tap room and restaurant. That much was obvious.
It was a devastating day.
When Lynn Coughlin stepped up to the microphone.
They were there to tell me that my brother was killed.
Her brother, Chris Coughlin, an Army corporal killed just 2.5 weeks after he arrived in Afghanistan. Another death that a grieving big sister didn't want to be in vain.
I feel it's my duty to give service back that way.
So she started Catch a Lift. It's what her brother would always say when he went to work out at the gym. Her idea, a nonprofit that pays gym memberships, provides trainers even gym equipment.
I was angry. I was so angry.
So that veterans like Marine sniper Jeff Crenshaw
The anger was terrible.
can work out and work through his demons.
Okay, when I came back from Afghanistan, that was really the hardest one.
And his PTSD.
Physical exertion is some of the best treatment for PTSD I've ever found. It's my nirvana, really, to be honest with you.
Really paying attention to the things I didn't like about myself.
And Marine veteran Jose Ivan Perez, his hand maimed, his spine damaged by a sniper 13 years ago. Now, his time in the gym is some of the best healing he's been able to find.
Life is not guaranteed, so we don't know when it's going to happen. But until then, it's just really just keep doing exactly what I feel like it's working, and it's working for me.
In its first 10 years, Catch a Lift has helped more than 7,000 veterans raise more than $6 million and hopes to get a foothold in DFW to help veterans here, too.
I feel really humbled that I was able to take something really sad and painful and turn it into something that's helping.
It's a healing process. It's cathartic. It's a way for you to work out the aggression and the just literal hate that you have for where you are now.
Regardless of what you're struggling with PTSD or a disability or an amputation or something, no matter what, we're still here.
And still fighting, one good lift at a time. In Arlington, I'm Kevin Reese. In 2 containers on a Fort Worth street corner and inside a big white van.
All these cast iron skillets.
Willie Dimes collects
I
stuff.
got everything you can think of.
But he couldn't think of keeping these, the 2 Purple Hearts he found at an estate sale. So he asked me for help.
He may still be alive, I don't know.
But the only clue to who that person might be was a letter inside the case written by someone named Mary Rutsis in Duluth, Minnesota, way back in 1979. And then something really strange happened.
For some reason, just thought maybe I could do something.
At his house on a hill in Weatherford, Texas, Martin Branville watched our first story.
And so I made a phone call.
A phone call to a friend in Duluth, asking if he knew anyone named Mary Rutsis.
So
and they did.
That's when I called you and said, mystery solved.
And the next day,
hello.
Hi, is this Mary?
Yes.
I had Mary Rutsis on the phone.
Well,
I'm glad we found you. We'll see if we can solve this mystery together.
All right, thank you, thank you.
She told me the Purple Hearts belonged to her ex-husband, a Vietnam War veteran named Christian Rutsis, but they divorced more than 40 years ago. So, to solve the rest,
This is Terminal 1.
there was only one thing to do.
Please exit the tram.
A weekend trip to Minneapolis and a 2-hour road trip to a little town in western Wisconsin, where in a small tan house surrounded by 3 feet of snow,
Yeah, that's my handwriting for sure.
Mary Rutsis held her handwritten letter again.
Oh, we got 4 pages? Holy smokes.
And told me she'd also made a few phone calls of her own.
And I said, did he have Purple Hearts? She said, yes, and we can't find them. I said, well, we found them now.
Chris Rutsis was still alive, 5 hours north in Duluth, near the frozen shore of Lake Superior. And that's where the Purple Hearts needed to be.
What you doing, buddy?
At a nursing home in a second-floor sunroom decorated especially for the occasion.
There's your Purple Hearts, Chris.
His sister Joanne gave him the Purple Hearts.
You remember these?
With a tear rolling down her face.
10 years ago, this would have meant so much to him.
Yeah. Christian Rutsis is 73. Parkinson's and dementia have a firm grip on him now. After a lifetime of struggles with PTSD and the nightmares from what he saw and what he had to do in Vietnam.
When his son was born, he couldn't hold the baby because of things he had to do over there. It was hard for him, and he couldn't get over it.
Why do you still come visit? Because I know it can be difficult at times.
Because I love him. We're brother and sister, and I'll just be there till the end.
But even with an end drawing near, with the Purple Hearts back in hand, this is a family
Now you're smiling.
that can still find joy.
Are there still good moments like this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And a good moment deserves a good celebration.
Yeah, we're going back to the party, Chris.
Including a cake with one more very big Purple Heart.
He was very proud that he served.
What do you think, Chris?
Very proud.
Does it really mean something to you to get him back?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the completion of his life. Chew it up, buddy.
A life with 2 of its most important pieces returned thanks to Willie Dimes back in Fort Worth.
Special guy, only thing I can say, with 2 Purple Hearts.
Yeah, it's just the best thing ever. That's a good person.
How wonderful of him. What a good heart.
A good heart helping mend a few more on a very long journey home. In Duluth, Minnesota, I'm Kevin Reese.